Hello. How are you feeling right now? Is everyone energized? Are we coming? Woo, I like that energy here. Thank you so much. Oh, wow. We are going to start with our career conversation. Um, when I was thinking like, Alcely, why are you doing this? Why you are stressed? Like, why you are having so much stress doing this organization? It's because I think that I believe that El Día del Agua y la Atmósfera it has a really important impact in the development of us as a student becoming professionals. And I think that this conference allows that kind of interaction between professionals from the industry, faculties, and other students, and the ability to interchange ideas and learn. Like all of this conference, all El Día is a learning day. And I think that you will agree with me. So I think that the career conversation is an opportunity to students to make questions directly to this awesome panel of professionals that I have here. So let me introduce you. I have Alisa Kirk. Um, Alisa complete her undergrad and graduate studies at UFA. Alisa have more than 5 years working as groundwater hydrologist at Montgomery and Associates, where she has worked on environmental hydrogeology, water resources, and field investigation. So please, an applause for Alisa. Then we have Eleonora de Maria. Eleonora started her career in Argentina and obtained a PhD at U of A. Eleonora have more than 20 years of experience in diverse positions inside the hydrology and atmospheric science fields. Currently, Eleonora works as a hydrologist at Pima County Regional Flow Control District. So please welcome her too. Then we have John Rohr. I hope I said that. John received his master's degree at U of A. John have more than 20 years of experience in the hydrogeology field, where he has worked on contaminated media and groundwater projects. Currently, John works as principal hydrogeologist at ROW. So welcome to John. Um, then we have Steve Water. You already know Steve, he was our lunch speaker. But to tell you a little more about Steve, Steve completed his undergrad study at U of A. Currently, Steve is the flow warning branch manager at the flow control district of Maricopa County, where Steve started as a hydrologist, and he has built a successful career of more than 30 years. So welcome again to the stage to Steve Waters. Okay, to explain to our public here, the dynamic of the career conversation will start. I will ask the first round of questions directly to one of each of these speakers here. And after that, we will have 15 minutes to question from you guys. So I hope you have prepared some questions for our career panelists. So because here time is pressure, let me go to my first question, which is for Eleonora. I was wondering, what are some of the biggest challenges you have overcome in order to succeed in your career?
Thank you.
Can you please turn?
Yeah?
Are you okay there?
Oh,
They will arrange.
finding a microphone that works is one to intelligence.
There you go.
I think it's working. Um, Well, one of my biggest challenges was to find a job, to be honest. Graduating with a PhD and having limitations to where to go because I had a family and I couldn't go anywhere. So finding the right job where I wasn't overqualified or was challenging. It took me a long time. Actually, it took me over 10 years to find a job that I enjoy, that I know how to do, and where having a PhD is welcomed and not something that generates fear. Um, when I think about it now, I will say if you are getting a PhD and you know that you don't want to be a professor or a research scientist, start working, doing internships, and trying to find a path right now. Don't wait until you graduate, which was what I did. I did research or during my PhD, and I didn't to start. I didn't carve a path towards a job outside academia. Granted, I graduated soon after the 2008 recession, so jobs were difficult to get. But yeah, so I think that's I would say the main advice for PhD students. And the second challenge, which is a very common challenge between women, was having kids. That was so hard. Yeah, that was hard. There is no support in the industry and even at the university for mothers. So that was hard.
I feel kind of reflected in that image. I am thinking that I'm going that way. Um, so thank you for sharing this, your experience. I really appreciated that. I have to jump to our second panelist, and then we can come back and ask more questions about this because I think it's a very interesting topic. So, John, what advice would you give a student that wish to become a principal hydrogeologist or a principal professional in whatever field they want to be?
What I'm going to say applies not just to being a consultant. I think there's a few fundamental things that don't just apply to the work environment, but apply to life. First, work hard and be nice. We work as teams. You have to work with other people. Our clients come back to us again and again because we're good at our jobs, but more importantly, they like working with us. Second would be to distinguish yourself from others, whether that's getting, while you're at university or right after, getting a GIT or an EIT that heads towards a professional license, always learning new things, showing initiative, trying to actually go out of your way to pitch in as part of that team. Third would be, although we hire really smart people, those who advance really seem to be good problem solvers. So it's not just about, hey, I did this awesome research project or I solved X problem. It's about, okay, what challenges do you get through on your way there? Because at least in consulting, and I mean, it applies to research, it applies to other things, there's always a new difficulty in how you're doing what you're doing. You have to be able to work through that. Fourth would be a good listener. What you're learning today in your classes and lectures, that applies in the working world as well. Almost second to last is consulting and other pursuits. Know the goals of your organization and kind of what success is defined as. So that can be whether it's that you bill hours in consulting or you're doing a good job at a flood agency or you're doing something else. But you have to understand what the organization's goals are so you can actually help that cause. And last but not least is have a decent work-life balance. Consulting especially, there's the tendency to just work, and not have a happy home life or a happy personal life. And for me as a potential employer for a consulting company, you don't want to hire super smart people, invest a lot of time in them, and then have them go do something else 2 years later. We had that happen in my circumstance a couple times with COVID and have a couple people that went out to go teach and didn't think consulting was for them. And for us as an employer, I don't know that we could have done anything differently except for managing people's expectations on the way in. So again, having good work-life balance kind of leads to your own personal success, both in consulting or in other industries as well.
Thank you, John. I think that there's a good question that we can leave to the following round about how we manage this work and life balance. But now I need to jump to my another panelist, Alisa. Um, what was the most important thing you got out of school that has helped you on your career?
Yeah, thanks. So I think that for me, I kind of starting out in hydrology, I was, really interested and excited. And some of the classes I started taking were a little bit of a struggle for me. And even though I was, excited about this opportunity, I was kind of thinking, is this something that's really right for me? So I ended up reaching out to see if there was some, internships that could kind of give me more of a perspective on what people in the industry actually do with this job. And fortunately, I was able to get an internship with Tucson Water, and that really was a stepping stone for me. And it, just being able to work with hydrologists, learn about the water system in Tucson and Arizona more, seeing things kind of firsthand really gave me that extra motivation to stick with it and allow me to kind of move up in my career. And that experience just helped me kind of with the hands-on part of overlapping with school and hydrology. So I guess, I would definitely recommend, as Eleonora mentioned, try to see if you can get, opportunities to, shadow people, talk to professionals in the industry, see what people do, for groundwater hydrology, go to the AHS conferences and meetings, to see if it's, things you actually want to be doing. And I do think that the courses we take in hydrology are pretty reflective of a lot of the work that we do in the industry. So that's good, but also just, what kind of fit is good for you? Is it consulting? Is it government? What do different people do? And just so, yeah, I guess for me, school allowed me the opportunity to ask questions and reach out to professionals, and that was probably one of the more valuable things.
Thank you, Alisa. There's another question that you can make, like, it's easier to find internship opportunities. We can jump again later. I want to finish that first round of questions before we go back. So let's now go to Steve. From your experience as manager, what hard and soft skill do you seek on a job candidate? Like, how will be your dream team candidate?
What was the last word? I'm sorry.
Your candidate, the
Candidate.
potential
Okay.
employee.
Okay. Yeah, I got it. So there are a few things that I was not taught in school that would prepare me to become a manager. One of those was public speaking, which managers do a lot of. And the first time I gave a speech in front of my peers to present some hydrologic work that I had done, I was scared to death. And my bosses actually noticed how scared I was, and they sent me to a public speaking class. So that's one thing. The other thing as a manager and wanting to hire a person in a government or a consulting type of job is that they need to be good communicators. You're going to be presenting work that you've done, not just to other scientists, and you're lucky if you get to do that, but you're going to have county officials, you're going to have clients, you're going to have people who have very little understanding of what it is you're trying to present to them, and you got to make them understand. And you do that with knowledge of your audience, and also by using proper grammar in English. If they don't have any respect for what you've written in a report or what you've given them, they're not going to like it. And a lot of firms and places have people who can do the proofreading for you, but it's always better to be able to do it. So I've always stressed language in English and oral and written communication skills as something that I look for when I hire someone.
Okay, thank you for that. I know I have to continue practice my English and oral speech. I am trying. Okay. So we are on 10 minutes, so we have 5 minutes to go around the question I already made. So I get some points from 4 of you guys, like with what about women? What about work-life balance, internship opportunity? Is there enough? How we know we fit in a specific field, public speaking. So is some of you that want to add a comment to any of this topic or another one? Oh, Eleonora?
Well, life-work balance, oh, I don't know. That's so hard. I think is what I find myself doing is trying to be very efficient with my time. So I get my work done and I can go home because it's hard. And I use different techniques and I make lists and I use the tomato timer and I use whatever works to concentrate, focus, because I notice how many distractions we have these days. It's constant, the phone, the computer, the email. I try not to check my email 2 or 3 times a day and that's it, because otherwise I don't get work done. And if I don't get it done, I need to work later or things like that. Unfortunately, at least where I work at Pima County, we talk a lot about work-life balance, but nobody teach you what to do or how to do it. So I guess you need to find what works for you.
That's true.
Yeah.
Completely true.
Yeah, and just a comment on based on what Steve said about having good written and oral communications. Just I know that our field is very informal, but when I get an email from a student that starts the email saying, who starts the email saying, hey, I'm not a hey, I'm not, or just not even saying good morning, my name, my doctor, my last name, whatever you want. I just send it back because I'm teaching them. But if I'm a manager and a consultant hates me, I'm sorry, you are not getting paid or whatever. I don't know. It hasn't happened to me yet, but so be careful. Pay attention how you start writing an email. Make sure that you acknowledge the email saying, thank you. I got the information. Thank you. And be polite, because just make sure that the language you use with your friends is different from professional language.
Well, thank you, Lenora. I see in your face, that you want to add something about what you look on an employee.
Oh, generally what we look for from an employee is A, they're smart. That's the reason we're here, and that's the reason we come to schools like this. But B, that they're flexible and that they're going to be good communicators, that they're going to be able to problem solve. So it's a lot of intangibles that aren't necessarily, hey, what's your degree or what was your GPA exactly? It's kind of 2 or 3 steps past that. What did you do in, whether it was getting an internship, what did you do? Did you lead a club? Those types of things. So it's things like that that are well beyond the resume.
Thank you. Alisa, do you have any comment about what advice you give to someone that's looking for a job?
Sure. Yeah, I think that if, well, currently it seems like there's a good bit of openings coming up soon. So now is kind of a good time, it seems like, to be looking for jobs, it appears. So that's good news. But I think that especially with opportunities, kind of thinking about what's important to you and what's a good fit, kind of understanding, trying to learn about what different, companies or organizations are, what the work they do, what their expectations of their employees are, and if that's a good fit for you.
Thank you to all of you. Now I will open the microphone to the audience so you can make your question. Please raise your hands. We have 15 minutes for making questions. Please, this is unique opportunity to ask questions to potential employers. So Queen, help me.
I think first we should just give a round of applause for that.
Yeah, that's true, completely.
Thank you, panelists. I feel like I've gotten louder. All right, so we have some question and answer times. Any questions in the audience? Yeah, all right, Jill.
So this kind of transitions well from what Alyssa was just talking about, but one thing that was on my mind when you guys were talking was there are a lot of job opportunities right now, and I know that a lot of students here are faced with the choice of many job possibilities. So what Alyssa was just saying is that focusing on what's important to you. And I was wondering if you guys have any advice or thoughts on, like, say they're faced with a job that has a lower salary but higher job flexibility, or a higher salary but not necessarily their dream job or what they've always dreamed of doing. Like, any advice to students on making those hard decisions when they're faced with many job opportunities?
I could step in. Is my mic? There we go. So it's interesting because I'm in the process of hiring a position that's been filled for more than 15 years now. And what I want to see from a person coming in is a couple of things. I want to see maybe more than what goes on the very basic application. So a resume and a cover letter is always a good idea. When I went to work there 30 years ago, I had really no idea what the flood control district was or what it did. But you don't have that negative problem, okay? So everybody who you might hire with has a website, and there's no reason for anyone to go into an interview and not know what it is that that organization does, even down to the branch level like mine. So I have had people come in and apply for jobs that they had no idea what they were going to be doing or who it was with or what the end goal of it was for. So we try to explain that during an interview, but somebody coming in with that knowledge can ask much more useful questions, both for them and for us.
Thank you, Steve. Professor Castro, I will go there.
This is more of a comment, and I don't mean to usurp the group, but one very important point I would say from the academic side and your professors is the entry point for organizations like the folks sitting at this table is you have to submit a job application, and as part of that application, you have to give references. So all of the kind of professional decorum that they're talking about, comporting yourself in a polite way, professional way, showing initiative, showing motivation, doing good work, that's all stuff that we're going to note when we provide a letter of reference for you, or when one of these folks would call us and say, how about this person? So how you interact with your instructors and show us what we can put in letters of reference for you is so important. I can't emphasize that enough.
Thank you. Good point, Professor Castro. Do we have another question in the room? Don't be shy.
Hey, I was wondering, once we start getting the entry level jobs and we actually start making our foothold in our respective fields, what do you recommend to move up in those fields? When is it the right time to stop doing starter jobs and thinking of ourselves as an actual part of our careers? Do you have any recommendations? Do you have any advice? Like, when do we look at ourselves and think, wow, we are actually professionals?
Who wants to answer that? Do you have someone, a preference?
Not, I like Steve Waters if he doesn't mind.
Of course, I don't mind. But you started a sentence with "hey," so I can't answer your question. The field that we've chosen, whether it's groundwater hydrology, surface water hydrology, even at the technician levels, are all considered, at least by my employer, as professional positions. So right off the bat is when you need to start acting like you're in a profession. Now, how you take that, I see people go all kinds of ways. I see people who stay in one branch of hydrology throughout their career. Some of them switch and they go and do more civil engineering stuff. Some of them might go into soil and water science or something like that. But those are all arms of the same branches of the same professional tree. Does that help? Thank you.
Thank you, Steve, for that answer. I saw a hand in the last row.
Hello. So how would you guys, I guess, get over the imposter syndrome? Because that is something that I struggle with all the time and that I feel like is a big deal going into the industry.
Good question. Do you have a preference for a response?
No, whoever feels like they
I
have the
dealt
best
with it
answer.
today, if that helps.
You can what?
I dealt with it today.
Okay.
I'm in a legal case right now that I'm being challenged on, and it never goes away. If you're conscientious of what you do, you're always gonna be worried if you're good enough or if you can do the work. But for me, I think it was the right job environment helped me, what's the right word, break through it. That I was at a good company that kind of looked to not push us past our capabilities too much. So you build your confidence that way. And then you, through doing good work, believe in yourself that that there is no more imposter syndrome, that you are good at what you do, even though you probably are coming out of school. It's a difficult thing to deal with. But for me personally, I got lucky in that first company, and they kind of advance you, not slowly, but in steps, that you build your confidence. You can't choose necessarily that type of environment. And sometimes it's luck, where you need to work with your peers to know that what you're doing is the right level for whatever stage in your career you're at, if that helps. And other people might have comments on that, because everybody goes through it.
Yeah, I think it happens to everybody. I don't know if it ever goes away, but also for me, it's just if I don't know something, I don't know it. And I ask for help, ask my coworkers, read the book, whatever it takes. Many times I'm doing very simple hydrology entry level work, and I doubt myself, and I'm like, God damn it, Eleonora, you have a PhD in hydrology, you know this. But I have to remind, and maybe I forgot it. So maybe I open the vintage and I go over the concepts. because I really don't remember, no matter how many my education was. No, I would say just be yourself, be honest with yourself. If you don't, sometimes trying to improvise or come up with solutions without really knowing things doesn't help. Just admit to yourself, and I need 1 hour to think about this, or I need help, or I need, because yeah, that's my approach.
Thank you, both of you. I think we have time for one question more. Ben West. Oh, okay. Who? Any. You can do both.
Hi. As we are celebrating this month, the Women's Month, I wanted to ask the women in the panel, have you feel that bias like when your supervisors in the academic or in the professional field, that they give more confidence to tasks for males than for women? Or how do you feel is the bias in the academic or professional field?
Alisa, do you want to
Sure,
start?
yeah, I can start. I've been really fortunate to work with some incredible women as my supervisors, and a lot of the team we work on is women as well. So I think that, you know, in most of the work I do, I don't have that, I don't feel any preference, but you know, being in certain rooms, there's definitely it can be a little, it feels a little bit more imposter, I guess, in certain situations. But yeah, I think that it's also, you know, good to find a good mentor, and as a woman, it has helped me have women mentors that have really been monumental in helping me grow and giving good feedback and communicating with them. So I guess, yeah.
Thank you, Elisa. Eleanor.
Oh, that's a big topic. I think when I was an undergraduate, I'm an engineer, and they left me. They went to the field without me. They waited, the technicians waited until I went to the restroom to leave. They knew I was going. So I've been around that all my life, but I think I don't see it anymore. I don't know if it's because it's not there, or it's because I just do my own thing. But I think it's changing a lot. I see my coworkers and the way they hire interns or they hire new students, they don't seem to question if that person is a woman and needs to go to the field 3 times a week. So that's very inspiring. When I was a graduate student, I think at least in my mind, I saw some discrimination against women, or I don't know, I felt like many times there was more funding for men and women were sent to teach, for example. But I don't know if it was my own bias or it was the reality. But things are changing. Things are changing. I mean, every day, even though I'm surrounded by women, we have engineers in the group, but it's usually me and 12 to 13, 15 men. And I'm leading the meeting because I'm the boss, I'm the client, so they have to do whatever I say. But until you get to that point, you just need to adapt. But no, it's getting better, I think.
Thank you really for sharing that experiences. So we have 2 cases. We are going to jump to our last question from Ben. There's Queen.
Hi, so I am here in part to switch careers, and something I saw in my last field was that, you know, some things were changing quite quickly and people were impressed with that, and some things had sort of stayed the same for a long time, despite maybe a lot of people wanting them to change in the field. So I'd be interested to get a perspective on maybe ways that the field has changed that you're grateful for, in your time in it, or ways that you would like to see the field change and how it operates that it hasn't changed yet?
Oh, who wants to start this question? Do you have a preference, Ben?
I guess ways that you would like to see things change is more actionable. So, oh, I don't have a preference, but maybe one of the people who said that they had been in the field for like 20 years, because I feel like that's.
I don't want to say names, but we have 3 of them.
I'll step in real quick. Seemed like for about the first 20 years of my career, we used a lot of the same hydrology and hydraulics that had been used for decades before. The only real difference was that the computers were faster, so things could get done more quickly. In the last 10 years or so, we've really made a switch from one-dimensional to two-dimensional type modeling that give us a much better idea, we think, of how water actually behaves when a flood is occurring. We can put in buildings and sidewalks and streets and houses and all of those things as part of GIS coverage and really get an idea of how the rain is going to affect that. Even so, the two-dimensional modeling still uses the good old St. Venant equations that other 2D modeling has used in the past. So the more it changes, I hate to say this, the more it stays the same. There are some new things coming out with weather radar that are very promising in estimating precipitation, and satellite radar and research that's going on in places like OSU and the National Severe Storms Lab. And one day, not in my future, but in somebody's future, we may be able to give up rain gauges altogether, because the radar and satellite will be so good that we won't need them anymore. Same for stream gauges. We use still old stream gauges that measure height of water, and that's about it. But there are new things on the horizon, using Doppler radar and using actually photography to estimate velocities in situ. So discharges can be calculated right there at the gauge site rather than by a rating curve in our computer when the data gets back. Just a couple of things.
Thank you, Steve. We are in our last 2 minutes. So I want to ask you the same question, and I want you to respond for each of you, if possible. So the question is, in one word or maximum one sentence, what value or skill have been crucial for your career growth? So we start with John.
The ability to think on my feet.
Ability to think.
To think on my feet.
On my
Meaning something changes, what do you do?
Okay. Eleonora.
No, I would say the power of human interaction, being able to connect and interact with professionals.
Thank you. Alisa.
Communication skills. Yeah. Technical and interpersonal communication skills.
Thank you. And Steve.
I think the word would be devotion. Devotion to the career path that you've chosen, and then devotion to the job that you choose or the organization that you work for. That goes a long way.
Thank you. You have been awesome. I think that we have the attention of all our students. So please, a round of applause to our panelists, Steve, Alisa, Eleonora, and John. Thank you so much for this time. So now, Queen, you have the word.
Yeah, thanks again to our career panel. So we made it. The moment is here. We're going to take a few minutes to transition into awards mode, but be prepared to win some money. 2 minutes, 2 minutes. Give us 2 minutes, 2 minutes. You may talk amongst yourselves.